Hey everyone, today we're making a really easy vegan version of cabbage roll soup. Cabbage roll soup is a recipe that my mom makes all the time. If you want the full recipe, the vegan version from me, you can go to raincoastvegan.com and it'll be there under the recipes section. To start off, I'm going to be doing a mise en place. I just want to get everything together, all cut up to one side. I'm roughly chopping 2.5 cups of cabbage here that I'm going to tightly pack in a measuring cup. If you've been following for a while, you might have noticed my absence for just over 2 years. When I started the YouTube channel, my intention was to make really great hosted videos, show myself on camera, and then I got long COVID. So I've had to take a bit of a break, and this, to be honest, is my first test back to see if I can make these YouTube videos again. If you notice some shaky things or out of focus camera work, please excuse that. It is a work in progress. Really, this is just seeing if I'm able to make videos still at a high-ish quality and share them in long form on YouTube without having to host and talk to camera. The way that my long COVID manifests is basically I can stand for a little bit, but then I have to take lots of breaks. And the idea of dressing up, getting camera ready, and also cooking is just not something that's happening right now in my journey. So I'm going to do a little voiceover situation. As you can see, I'm also doing 2 medium-sized carrots. It's supposed to be 1 large carrot, but I got sort of 2 halves of a large carrot in my CSA box this month, so that's what I'm cutting up. And I also cut up a medium-sized yellow onion for this recipe. I had this idea to share this recipe. It's actually an adaptation of my mother's cabbage roll soup. When I was growing up, we used to have cabbage rolls all the time when I lived in Ontario, but they're really labor intensive. So the cabbage rolls became like a cabbage roll casserole, and then eventually it became a cabbage roll soup. But she only came up with that recipe after I went vegan, so I've never actually had it. And seeing as it's fall and we're coming into Thanksgiving, I thought this would be a really great time to veganize a recipe and share it. I'm always looking for things that I could bring to a potluck or a family get-together, and this month I'm trying to share as many things as possible that would be easy to share or that other people might want to eat with you, especially if you're going to be the only plant-based person at a big family gathering or any sort of event. It's nice to have a couple of things in your back pocket that you can bring along, and maybe somebody will be curious and they want to try it, and if not, at least you know that you have a meal that you can eat while you're there. So part of the reason that I'm putting together the mise en place is because honestly it makes it easier for me to film that I'm still trying to get the hang of. But I also find measuring out the ingredients ahead of time onto smaller plates that are dishwasher friendly means that I won't skip a step, or if I'm pouring directly in, that won't happen. So having it on a smaller plate is a really easy idea. Also, just measuring everything out ahead of time makes your life easier. For example, I totally forgot to buy the diced tomatoes in this recipe. Thankfully, I had some in the cupboard, but I had skipped that step in reading it the first time around. So just a tip from me. Although it's not like I invented it. Every chef does this. I'm sure you've seen it all before. My only tip is if you do it into dishes that can go straight in the dishwasher, it will make cleanup a lot easier. For this recipe, I'm using Beyond Beef. It is my favorite little cow in a cape, and I love it so much. I also find that it really transitions a lot of traditional comfort food ground beef recipes really, really well. I haven't found anything that I can't do with it so far. And a little salt and pepper to taste. It's the only time I'll put salt in here just because I don't want to over salt things. The idea is you want to brown the Beyond Beef, but it doesn't really work the same as ground beef does. So don't get upset if you see a lot of liquid, that's normal. Just take it out when it looks like a little brown on the edges and fairly cooked up. That's all you're looking for. Then add in another tablespoon of olive oil. Again, you can read the entire instructions on my website if you want. I know I'm kind of going in and out of this here. And then you're adding in your onions and carrots. The idea is not to get super cooked down vegetables. You want them to still have a little bit of a, not crunch necessarily, but you don't want them mushy when you get to the end of the soup. It will set up a lot in fridge when you store it or if you put it in the freezer. So the vegetables and the rice that you'll see later, it's okay if they're a little al dente when you finish the cooking time for this. Oh, and like I said, there's a little camera shake. I am so sorry about this, guys. Please stick with me. I am going to try to work through these things. I'm just trying to adapt so I don't burn out and I can do some creative work and show you guys what I'm up to. I know a lot of other people in the community out there have been really supportive of my long COVID journey, and I appreciate it so much more than you could ever know. It has been a very different last 25 months or so, and finding ways that I can still create and still share food with others is a challenge, but it's one that I'm happy to have a little bit of energy to take on right now. Don't get me wrong, by a little bit of energy, I mean like the very smallest bit of energy. But I'm glad you're all here for the ride with me. So far we've added in, if you're following along, we've added in all of the carrots, the onions, the spices, the cabbage, the tomatoes, and now the tomato sauce. And of course, rinse those out with some water afterwards and pour the water in there as well, just so that nothing really goes to waste. You might notice as well that I have one Canadian can and one American can. So the American size is about 14.5 ounces and the Canadian is 396 milliliters. And I know that doesn't translate properly, but that's sort of the standard size that you see in the grocery store. This is wizard sauce. If you want to see all the ingredients that I use, like I said, go to the website raincoastvegan.com, and I have pictures. I try to take pictures of the weird things that I buy so that people will have recommendations when they go in their store. Or at least know what they're looking for, trying to find on the shelves, which is one of the best parts of trying to go grocery shopping. Put in the bay leaf. I know some people don't think that bay does anything, but I promise you it does. It's a mystery magic leaf, but it does give like a really nice earthy background to it. So don't skip it. Then add back all of the browned Beyond Meat, and then you're going to bring this to a boil. Now you don't want like a rapid rolling boil, because also look at how full this is in a 3-quart container. You want it to be like a serious bubble is a good way to put it, but not so that you're going to overflow the pot. So when you're getting it bubbly, add in your rice and stir it in so it goes to the bottom, and then you're going to cover it and let it sit for 25 minutes. This is really that simple. It is one of the most comforting and easiest things to make. Should have said that it needs to be covered, put on low, simmered, and then it will still end up like this. So I made about 3 liters of this. I say that it serves about 3 or 4 people if you're eating it as an entree, about 6 people if you're gonna have it for a side dish. I personally ate a big bowl of it, and then I had 2 liters left for the freezer and for other days. It will thicken as it sits in the fridge, so if it gets too thick for you, just add a little water. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments.